Hello, everybody. Buenas tardes. How you guys doing? This is the Face of a Hero show. And who do we have here with us? You are my beautiful, wonderful, powerful. Oh, wait, I'm pointing the wrong way. The Face of a Hero with who?
Augustine Barron.
And you got EVE also.
EVE, my beautiful co-host.
Wait, I'm pointing the wrong way. There you go. He's right there. Well, it's certainly been a great day. I don't know about you guys, but I hope you enjoyed our welcome back.
First of all, Eve, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, that's right.
Happy New Year, it's 2023.
Yes, happy New Year, 2023. Can you believe that?
How did you bring the new year in?
How did I bring in the new year? I celebrated with a couple of thousands of people in my church.
Oh, that's
started
beautiful.
At 10 and we finished about 1 in the morning.
Wow.
It was beautiful with fireworks and the balloon drop, and it's just dancing and music, and it was just a wonderful way to start it in the year 2023.
New York style.
That's right. And 2023, it's the year of new beginnings.
That's right.
New beginnings. So we're going to kick it off with a great guest today, right, Agustin?
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait.
It's just, I'm not going to tell you guys who it is until we bring him on the camera, and he's waiting patiently off camera. And I'm just going to say that he is in the police force, but not just any police force. He is a powerhouse, and he has gone places and elevation in positions. And so he has made it to be the first African-American of something. I won't tell you. I'll let him tell you. I'm not going to steal his thunder. And of course, those of you guys know that when is our show, Augustine?
Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
That's right. So happy Thursday, guys. Happy Thursday. And so, we're going to kick it off right now because the person that we have on the line, it's actually, I thought I was busy, extremely busy. And so I am grateful that he has given us time to tell us about him. This is the platform for our first responders. As we keep mentioning, it's not about us, it's about who we bring as a guest. You want to share anything, I was thinking, before we bring him up?
Well, one of the things I know that you had said that we are even lucky that we caught him because his time schedule is, and from what I hear, he's in his mobile office, so we caught him. He's given us the time so we can catch him and have a great conversation with him.
I think so. And of course, this is Major Jerry Williams. Welcome, Major Jerry. How are you?
I am blessed this evening. Thank you both for having me on your show this evening. So thank you.
Well, actually, we are honored to have had you make some time for us because we just said you are in your mobile office. And let me ask you, did you have to pull off the road to get on the show? Because I know you drive a lot.
I do. I'm being very responsible, right? So I am. I'm pulled over to a safe parking place so that I can properly and safely conduct this interview with you guys tonight.
That's great.
Look at him. He actually is telling us what we all should be doing, not driving and on the phone, as some of us do. Agustin, are you guilty?
Not me.
Well,
not me. I am parked on my sofa right now.
Today. But what about other days?
Other days, no comment.
Well, we're going to conduct ourselves accordingly because we have Major Jerry Williams of the Indiana State Police, and he's just not any police. You get to hear a little bit about him, but we get to know what it's like to be in his seat, in his shoes, as where he is right now. And he does a lot of driving. He serves in different capacities, and I'm just honored and blessed to have him here on The Face of a Hero. He is the face of a hero. He is a hero. And he's a hero to many people, and we're going to get to hear why we're saying that. Right, Agustin?
That's right. Yeah, long Indiana's a long state to be traveling up and down those highways.
I'm
That
telling
it is.
you. So, Major, once again, thank you for coming on. And we just want to give you this platform this time to tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? I think we have something in common on that one, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. So let us know.
Again, guys, I want to again take just a quick moment to thank you both for giving me the honor just to even participate in such a process here. Um,
Absolutely.
I really describe myself, and I sincerely believe in my heart that I am a very humble servant. So I don't. This is. I know it's a cliche, but I am truly. This was a calling for me. So I followed after a couple of my uncles who were Chicago police officers back in the '60s, '50s, '60s, and into the '70s. And of course, so I had an opportunity to kind of watch and admire them and how they conducted themselves. They were police officers in an era where it was truly a community engagement environment where they were on foot patrol in their prospective neighborhoods, etc. And even having an opportunity to walk along with them on one of their beat patrols on a couple of occasions as a young guy, that was just truly, truly amazing and remarkable for me. So that's kind of some of that the what that brought me. I kind of began to draw my interest in the into police work in and of itself. um, I grew up in Gary. I am a proud product of the Gary school system. One of the things that myself and Sister Eve have in common is that we literally grew up just a block north and or south of each other on the exact same block.
I know, right?
So how small of a world is that, right? Um,
Very
so uh,
small.
we like to say, and I'm sure she would agree, there's something about the atmosphere and the water in that community and that village that we grew up in that maybe helped us get to where we are today. I like to certainly say that it did. So I grew up in the in Gary there on the east side there, which would be the Emerson district, and I did several capacities, of course, along my journey to where God has me at currently postured and positioned with the Indiana State Police. I actually started out in as a chef in a Mexican restaurant. To be
What?
quite honest with you, yeah, I did.
Really? I
And
didn't
Chicago?
know that. You were
no,
at
no,
a
actually,
not any restaurant, but a Mexican restaurant?
a Mexican restaurant. If you guys
Oh,
are from, if you're from the area, well, obviously I know you are. E. If you guys remember the Casa Gallardo,
yes.
um,
As I call it, Casa Never mind. Yes, that.
so I started out there, spent 11 years there, left there as one of the regional managers, and was fortunate enough. General Mills owned the company at the time, and I was offered an opportunity to go off to chef school, and kind of would kind of enhance my passion for some of the other stuff that I do all outside of police work. So at any rate, I kind of progressed along the way, and at the same time, of course, as a young parent, as I engaged in these different processes, I got my first opportunities in law enforcement with the Lake County Sheriff Department, actually as a correction officer, and just continued the process of competing for different police departments in the area, Maryville Police Department. Of course, Gary Police Department, the Lake County Sheriff Department, obviously, in the state police. I was at one of my first official police job offerings was actually with the Gary Police Department, just over 32-ish, 33 years ago. But I was also competing in Lake County as well. So I kind of stayed in that arena. And then at some point, God positioned me where I had a choice to go off to the State Police Academy and or go out on the road as a patrolman for the Lake County Sheriff Department, then under Sheriff Stiglitz back in 1992, I believe it was ish, somewhere in there, 92, 93. And then just because of my relationship with my dad, who was my ultimate hero, guys. I will tell you that. That guy was just amazing as a person, as a man, as a father, and he raised quite a few of us by himself. My mother died at a young age herself as a young
Wow.
mother, and so my dad took several of us, about seven at the time, and
Wow.
raised us by himself while
Wow.
working three and four jobs. So that I believe instilled in me that
The work ethic.
dedication and that work ethic. Um, and so as life would continue on for me, and my path took me to the state police. After I got out of the state police, I came back home here to what is called the Low District, and began my time as a road trooper, and worked in these on these same roads, whether it be interstates, inside the city, East Chicago, it doesn't matter. We have the freedom to kind of move around, obviously, in our capacity. And so I did that as a road troop for the first few years, and then got into was asked to do some other special assignment work, task force work with some federal agencies, particularly the FBI, that type of stuff. And again, learned a lot in those different processes. I also did something that I thought and helped enrich me as a young officer. And that was when the state police back in the early 90s immersed themselves into community policing and problem oriented policing. And so it was an opportunity to get really immersed into the communities again, at the ground roots level, to really let your window down, get out of the car, and get to meet people and get to meet who your neighbors were, and try and proactively be a positive presence in the community when there's nothing going wrong, if that makes any sense. And so I really, really enjoyed doing that. And I did that for a couple of years before moving on to do some more investigative work with the state police as well, and began to start getting into numerous different trainings and schools, etc. And then eventually I went to motorcycle school, right? Which was
You're
very
one of
nice.
those Starkey and Hush on the
Sorry.
motorcycle. You were one of those Starsky and Hush.
No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
called chips.
That
Oh,
was Chips. Yeah,
I'm
Chips.
sorry,
Eric
Yeah,
Chips.
Estrada.
yeah,
You were
yeah.
one of them.
I was,
He
and
was
it
the
was
Eric Estrada.
yeah, it was a tremendous opportunity, and again, to be able to bring that back home to my own community, and and be able to go into the neighborhoods and our communities. And it just wasn't Gary, it was Hammond, it was East Chicago, it was Lowell, it was Jasper. We really did kind of engage and use that as a vehicle to get young folks to approach us and have conversations, and to kind of bridge those gaps with our younger generation, particularly at that time frame. And then from there, I went off to Indianapolis, and I began my journey down in Indianapolis. But because I still had younger kids at the time, I wasn't, it was easier or better for me to sacrifice my time when it comes to commuting from the Lowell or Crown Point area, the Lake County area, to Indianapolis. And that was the path I chose. I had opportunities to be promoted and began my career advancement in this area, but I wanted to do something that had meaning to it. So that path took me to Indianapolis to work out of our headquarters, and worked in our finance department for a while, and worked with other department groups within the state, Department of Correction, etc. So quite a journey, and I'm going to try and speed that up because it could get pretty long.
Well,
To talk
it just shows that you've been doing a lot, Major.
So I did that for a while as a sergeant, and then eventually left that area of. I wrote grants. I did everything you could think of financially related to budgets, et cetera, et cetera, and wrote proposals, and brought other state agencies and stakeholders across the state to bridge and leverage our buying power as a state to get the best prices for and the best bang for the buck, for lack of a better description, for our taxpayers.
Mhm.
So I left that, and then I began my next promotion as a first sergeant in our internal investigation section. So I did the internal investigations for about 4 years ish, to include EEOs, hostile work environments, that type of stuff. Because our agency doesn't have that many black and brown folks historically on our agency, you're usually always the first or the only within many of our work groups
Mm.
within the state police in and of itself. So that's kind of normal place for us. But I would not say it should be acceptable place for us, because
Mm.
they certainly, we should always be striving to seek out and recruit those black and brown folks within our communities that certainly have the capacity to do this job, whether it be for the state police or any police department for that matter, as far as I'm concerned. So I did that for a while, and then after I did that for a while, God kind of put me in a place where that worked out for me at the time, because that gave me certain opportunities to learn different aspects of the job that I would not have otherwise been exposed to. But more importantly, one of the things that that period of my career offered me an opportunity to do was to take care of my father when he was diagnosed with cancer. So I was fortunate
Mm.
enough that I could work my schedule and take days off as I needed to, vacation days, etc., to make sure I got him to all of his doctor's appointments and that type of good stuff. So that was my commit my acts or my prayer to God, is He give me the ability and capacity to be able to take care of the guy that took care of so many other people in his
Right.
life whenever his time came. And so
Right.
it offered me that break in time to be able to do that. And then after that done, he passed away. Then an opportunity to compete for our lieutenant or district commander position here in this low district presented itself. So I competed and finished up first and got that position, and became the first African American commander for the low district here, which covers seven counties, or obviously Lake County all the way to Jasper and Newton
Wow.
counties, etc. So very humbling experience to be able to now work side by side with many other the folks whose shoulders I stood on, as far as our black and brown officers historically over this agency, and our white officers as well too, that helped mentor me and prepare me for that next chapter of my career. Certainly, I would be remiss not to acknowledge those folks, because I certainly couldn't have done it without the doors that they opened up to, even though they may not have got to those levels in their career, but they certainly impacted my ability to get there throughout the course of our process. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and we had the vortex, if you guys remember that major storm.
Yes.
And
Luckily, I was blessed to be in sunny California.
right, right. So if you remember, that we made national news. That was
You did.
CNN, because the then Governor Pence, now former Vice President Pence, we all on these conference calls, and we had to make a decision because the storms made it impassable. It made it difficult for us to get out, even as public safety folks, to get to people, to help people. Thus, we ended up having to shut down part of the interstate system for this part of the country that affected Chicago and all of this region. So
Mm.
anyway, I had those opportunities as well, and so I did that. And then at some point, after going off to the FBI Academy for about 10 weeks, it's kind of an executive level program, very kind of considered one of the more extinct or elite programs that I was very fortunate and had an opportunity to go to, which is a difficult at best process to get into. But I was fortunate again. I'm just a blessed guy, guys. So
Yes, sounds
it,
like it. But
and
I'm
it,
sure in
these
all that,
programs.
I'm sorry, Major, in all that you have just told us, that's a lot, isn't it, Agustin? I mean,
Oh,
it's like,
definitely. It,
whew. I already got tired. All that work you do.
Yeah, right. So
And
I'm really pretty much at the end because after that, the governor and the superintendent Carter uh, uh, invited me down to the executive staff, which is where I sit now for about the last 9.5, just shy of 10 years as the highest ranking minority on the state police based on rank and title and position, covering all of our logistics. So I am my team. I will tell you because I'm just fortunate enough to be a part of a process bigger than myself. But the team that really does all of the work behind the scenes, which is about 150 folks that are just really good at what they do, manage just shy of $400 million in daily assets.
wow,
So certainly that takes a very collaborative effort on the part of so many people that are 10
absolutely.
times
Wow.
smarter than me guys.
That's a big responsibility. You're responsible to oversee the maintenance of all that money.
Well, all those assets. So
Assets. I'm sorry, money.
that is
Assets for that department.
that's airplanes, that's helicopters, that is a 29-30 million dollar fleet, that is all of our buildings, that is $100 million in new construction. That is quite a bit of stuff. So that those folks really manage on a day-to-day basis, and you're just really fortunate that how they can make it look easy some days. So that's what I do currently right now, but more uniquely here in the last 8 months or so ish, we were asked by uh, Mayor Prince, um, myself and the superintendent met with him, and he asked for some assistance in trying to uh, kind of do a reset with his public safety platform in the Gary Police Department. And so we kind of all put our heads together to try and figure out what that might look like, and what we thought we might be able to offer as a state agency resource wise. And then of course, Governor Holcomb totally supported the process when we met with him in person and shared the request with him without hesitation. Also joined in that commitment to try and do something bigger than ourselves and see if we can help our community in Gary, just for just a little bit to be better off than what we found them. And so I will tell you that that has been a very rewarding process over the last 8 months or so, working with our partners with the Gary Police Department. They in my opinion are the real police. When we jokingly talk about that in our profession, because those guys are out there doing the day-to-day work, the thankless work sometimes for folks that don't even know they're out there protecting them some nights. And so what they do, my head goes off to them.
Yeah. And a shout out to Superintendent Carter. I'm sure he is going to be watching if he's not going to watching now.
Yes.
I actually applaud you and Superintendent Carter. I'm sure we're going to bring him on as well. He said he will be welcome to and to enjoy and be part of this, because we need to know not just from a local city standpoint of what a police officer does, or from the county perspective, but for the state, which is where you are from, Major. And just kudos for you currently being the highest ranking African American in that department.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm blessed and humble, guys. Thank you.
and thank you for serving and protecting, and thank you for coming to our city, Gary, Indiana, to help fix whatever needs to be fixed, improve whatever needs to be improved, and change whatever needs to be changed. I know that sometimes we don't welcome change very gladly, if I may say. And I know that you guys have gone through some pushback from Gary, the city of Gary, with people there. I'm not going to mention names or departments or anything. It's just the fact that you're still there. That says a lot, that you're not giving up. And get this, I was thinking, they're not charging the city of Gary a dime for their expertise, right? Major Willie?
That was that was the commitment by way of Governor Holcomb. He did not want the Gary community to expend one dime for whatever resources he had available. And I will tell you that uh, at his direction and the superintendent's um, movement through that process, they made all of his state assets available to the Gary community. And when I tell you that, that is just a really big deal, guys.
It is a big deal.
And that to that extent, and then my now into my 30th year, I've never seen this type of this level.
Wow.
And these folks don't have to do this. I mean, these, this is not about politics. And these two gentlemen, I tell people the story. I says I got this white Republican superintendent, and I got this white Republican governor who has pledged their support to my Black community, and sincerely are doing it just because it's the right thing to do. And man, yeah, I mean, you just can't. There's no way to put a measuring tape to what that means to us for our community. And obviously, like I said, Augustine, I'm not sure if you're from Gary or not, but I'm sure you can relate to the fact that what a powerful process that we have afoot here. And then, like I said, to be able to work with all of our counterparts. And we've learned a lot along the way, and we have not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination through this. But I will tell you that we whatever we did throughout the last 8 months or so, as we worked to collaboratively work with our brothers and sisters at the Gary Police Department, we tried to do it very thoughtfully and tried to make sure that it was relevant and it was something that was sustainable. So we're still encouraged. We're still moving forward with our efforts with the police department and the community. One of the things that Superintendent Carter promised, and we pledged from the very beginning of this process back in April, May-ish of last year, was that we won't leave you hanging in this process. Where our goal is to try and see it through, and we have grown with our partners in Gary, our political factions within the city. We've learned a lot. I've developed a lot of relationships with literally just about everybody on the Gary City Council, and obviously the mayor and his staff have been steadfast in their commitment to no matter how uncomfortable a process may be, if we're moving in the right direction and it's for the right reasons at the right time, that we will continue to try and do right by our community and know that there's going to be something constructive and positive that comes out of it.
That's commendable, Major. And for those of you that are just joining us, this is the face of a hero, and my co-host Agustin Marron is here, and of course, Eve Gomez, yours truly. And we have a special guest. He's a dynamite, like JJ used to say, Major Jerry Williams from the state of Indiana's state police. And so this platform is for our heroes, and Jerry, you are one of many heroes.
Absolutely.
If I may call you Jerry, Major. You are one of our heroes. Now, let me get into your field. So, Tino, Agustin, get ready for some questions. Let me get into your field, into your space. People need to know what it's like to be a state police, what it's like to be a trooper out on the road, out on the highway. What is it like to be in your shoes? I always ask a person so that we can gain some respect back for my men and women, our men and women in blue, right? And empathy as well, because we have lost it along the way with all of this chaos when it comes to a police officer killing someone. And and my respects to every officer, because not everybody's the same, but we need to know or learn to respect you and to show empathy. And the only way I think in doing so is by bringing our men and women in blue here on this platform to tell the world what it's like. Have you experienced any disrespect from the community, wherever it may be? Because you travel across the state from point down south to north, and I know that you travel a lot, back and forth Indianapolis almost on a daily basis. But have you experienced any disrespect from community because of racial profiling or anything? Because I know we're black, black and brown, but just wanted to get a feel of if you have gone through that in your 30 years of service.
I have not, in as far as from the community or backlash from the community itself. But I am very intentional when I move around in my community. Uh, Eve, I am very intentional because I don't believe in driving even as a young trooper out on the road, whether I'm on the highway or in the community. I don't ride with my windows up. I ride with my windows down. Even when I train new officers, I train them to ride with their window down. You can't hear when your window is up, and you certainly can't say hello and hi to people in the community. So I believe in being very engaging in that respect. So I have not, even from 30 years ago, it is certainly different today than it was 30 years ago as far as the overall relationship and the strain that our all of our black and brown communities particularly have now across the country as it relates to law enforcement and the relationships with law enforcement officers. It is certainly different. It has certainly been stressed. I don't know if to say that we have any more incidents involving police wrongdoing, because we are certainly we own uh, part of this process and the state of mind and this perception of a broken relationship between the law enforcement and the community. We own some of that, right? And we have to strive to try and find ways to re-engage on our communities, to bridge those gaps of communication, to be more transparent in our communities, to find ways to engage at a level that regains that trust that we did have 30 years ago. It just certainly doesn't exist today in that respect. And I would tell you that exists for me no matter where I'm traveling. I'm responsible for our logistics. So I do travel every corner of the state, as far as the most rural community you can imagine in the state of Indiana to the most urban in Gary. So I will tell you that I've been fortunate enough that I just have not really had any of those distasteful encounters that are so oftenly being reported today, but I certainly know that they exist. And so I can tell you that we actively should all in law enforcement go over and above to do our part to re-engage with our communities, to bridge those gaps of communication and start fixing some of those community-based relationships. And if we don't, we're going to certainly stay in trouble, and we'll stay in the this kind of gray clouded area that we have found ourselves in law enforcement, because it's going to be really hard for us to get the community to trust us if we don't find ways in law enforcement to do our part to re-engage with the community.
That is
So
so,
wanting to
so
be
true.
very
How was
aggressive.
I'm sorry. How was the morale of the state police in Indiana? Is it demoralized like it is here in Illinois, especially in the Chicagoland area? You know, we have the last couple of weeks we've had 3 suicides, and these are young. These are young. I'm going to say young officers, and with limited time on the job. And you would think that as you get, if you're more on the job, that you would think that they would commit suicide more. But there was one woman that even we talked about. She had like 5 or 6 years on the force, committed suicide. And I can't imagine on, of course I can't imagine because I haven't experienced it being there, being on the job and with police officers. But in your time, have you, not you, but have you seen any other of your comrades in that state of mind where they were almost going to go to the other side?
Oh, absolutely. And let me give you a backdrop to why a lot of times I tell you that happens. And suicide among the law enforcement community across the country is one of the most significant events that can happen, and it does happen quite often, unfortunately, in the law enforcement community because the, by nature you're built a certain way, and you're built to make these split second decisions. You see stuff that the average human being will never see in life when it relates to death. Uh, uh, Bodies, you name it, being in a position where you may even have to take a life in a justifiable situation, et cetera, et cetera. And we have to remember that these officers are human beings too.
Absolutely.
And but they are, with the perception is that we're supposed to be much tougher. We're not supposed to express ourselves, and we're not supposed to show emotion. And unfortunately, that's probably the worst thing we can do is to continue
Mhm.
that facade, because at the end of the day, we should be trying to seek the same professional help that we would encourage anybody else in the community to do, because we see it much more um, often than any person will ever be exposed to. Uh, my God, folks, I mean, to stand outside of a crash that as a trooper on more than one occasion and helplessly stand there while you watch a person perish in a car fire because there's no way humanly possible for you to approach the car because
Wow.
it's fully engulfed. To say that you don't emotionally and mentally have to process that
Mhm.
day in and day out, it would be we'd be kidding ourselves to say that we can't. And those are the types of images. Those are the things that are scarred into your memory bank that you one way or another have to repeat somewhere in your memory. We've had some very horrific accidents here in this area, particularly while I was the district commander, where we have entire families that perish in a single vehicle situation, and then to have to witness that carnage be unfolded. Mentally, it does stress you out, and I believe we don't do a good job in law enforcement of taking care of ourselves when it comes to that mental and
Mhm.
that spiritual platform that captures some of that says, hey, I might need to slow down here a little bit. I may need to go talk to somebody. I may need to seek some help, whether that be, somebody from an EPA or your clergy or whatever, to say, hey, man, let me talk through. Let me try and express what I just witnessed here
Right, right.
today. And we don't do a good enough job with that, to be quite honest with you. And we in law enforcement certainly need to try and do better than that.
Mhm.
To the currentness of this. We just lost a trooper. Actually, it was one of the troopers. He had just right at 25 years on, who I actually was one of his field training officers when he came on 25 years ago, who just committed suicide.
Wow.
Wow.
And from what we can tell, gave almost no indication this trooper had just retired. Should
Just
be ready to live the best life, right?
wow.
In his retirement days, and but something was going on within him, and we all wish we could go back in time to figure out what little triggers, what little signs that he may have been displaying that said he needed some help. But whether it didn't matter whether it was at home or at work. Nobody, you just. I guess God didn't have it where we were meant to identify that and try and
Mhm.
interject ourselves into that
It-
process. So we just had a recent suicide here ourselves within the last 35 days or so. So,
wow. That's horrific because they say, the ones that do commit suicide, they put this facade that you would think that they're happy in their life and everything. And I always go back to Robin Williams. Robin Williams, that he was on top of the world, And
Yeah.
even with some of these others, well-known people, but this one woman, she left 3 children behind. This one, but you even said this guy's ready to retire. He's just ready to start the second chapter in his life, the best years of his life, I want to say, and to take his life away like that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
sad. And I'm thinking that how some people, and I know everybody is different. They have a different way of handling things, but um, do you become desensitized at some point on everything that you've experienced, or do you see that within some of your officers that they just blow it off, not blow it off, but kind of like put it in the back of their mind and they
suppress it.
suppress it? That's the exact word I was looking for. They suppress it and not even think about it. Because even with myself, when I experienced something in my life, you suppress it. I suppress it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to think about that. I'm not, but it's sometimes, and one of the things is, I'll give you an example. When my mom passed away, my dad passed away. I'm already, I'm a grown man, but something can trigger it. It's like you suppress that feeling. It can be a song, it can be something, and all of a sudden, all the feelings come out.
There, right, right.
And that's what I'm thinking. My brother was a police officer, and he talked about some of the things, but he talked about it candidly. Like, I know that he was suppressing a lot of it, but it didn't affect him. Where some people, like you said, it just affects them, seeing it all the time. Where some people say, "Oh, another, whatever, another whatever," and that. But
Well,
that.
go ahead, Jerry.
I'm not going ahead.
From your standpoint, have you experienced some trauma in the 30 years of service where you have witnessed and it's gotten to you?
Oh, most certainly. I think the anybody that has been in this business for any length of real time, particularly 30 years, and with the travels that I have, not only locally here in the Low District, but across the state, and the trauma and the death and the processing of all of that. One of the best things I try and tell young troops now, and folks, what I did not probably mention is that I have of my 7 kids, 4 of them are in the law enforcement field. And I constantly preach this to them as well too, that don't put that facade on that you are invincible, that you should be desensitized to what you are witnessing and what you are seeing out there on that road, because it will certainly slowly eat you internally. And before you know it, it will consume you. And that's what I believe brings people to that closet corner,
right,
out, but to commit suicide. So certainly, yeah, I've certainly tried to be mindful of that, especially as a younger trooper. I was probably no different than anybody else, because you become desensitized to what you witness, what you see. I talk about watching people, somebody perish inside of a vehicle, and feeling so hopeless about not being able to do anything to help them, because you can't get to that fire. There's nothing you could do.
Right.
And that I can tell you that happened several times throughout my career, while as a road troop. But what I often would say now to all of my younger troops, particularly when I became the district commander here, and I had 75, 80 troopers that I was responsible for, is that you better rest assured that I was always very consciously looking for those signs with my younger troops. When I know that they have been involved or had to process a catastrophic crash scene or what have you, that I usually kind of put that, I interjected myself and made sure that they had those avenues available to them, whether it be EAP programs. I made sure our clergy stayed in constant contact with those troopers. You think about trying to process a person and body parts and trying to help the coroner collect these parts. That
Mm,
I don't care what you say. At the end of the day, those types of things get to you. And yeah,
mm,
you can put this armor and this shield up,
right,
and sometimes many of us get by with it, right? But there's those few that do make that ultimate um, decision to pull to take their own life, and yeah, I would tell you it bothers all of us, and we have to do a better job of recognizing it in the law enforcement community, and being able to say that it's okay to say you need help.
right.
Um,
Oh, thank you for saying that.
That's
if
great.
we
That's
can
great.
get people to do that and not be afraid to talk to somebody, a counselor from the EAP program, most all police departments, I know we certainly have a very robust EAP program. We have a very robust clergy program that our the ministers and pastors that work on our program are very aggressive, very forward thinking, and they get those calls for service, and they know, man, we've just had a bad crash over here, and we got several officers processing that scene that might require some, just somebody to walk up
Right.
and quietly, sometimes discreetly, just carry on a conversation to
Mhm.
engage them in the process to begin to help them be able to talk through what they've just been processing. If that
Witness.
makes any sense. Yeah.
Wow, that is so important. So I was going to ask, but you already mentioned some experiences you've had. I was going to ask what has been the most horrific event or
I
sight that you've experienced, Jerry. Is that the one, the ones you just mentioned?
yeah.
Oh yeah, the unfortunate part about it, there's been several of those such incidents. Probably the most significant one-time events was probably when I lost an entire family in one vehicle that perished in one vehicle,
And
to include some
you
small
mentioned that. I would
kids.
think that that would be where you said that you had no way of helping them, and you just basically watched them perish
Not
because
only not only could you not help them because of the significance of the crash, you could not even the vehicle was so mangled. There's no way you could even comprehend how many people were even in the vehicle.
okay,
And again, to then when you try and unravel that vehicle, you get the fire out and all that kind of stuff, and you begin to unravel, and oh my God, not one person, not two people, not three people, not four people, not
Seven?
five people.
Was there seven people in that vehicle?
So that one, I think, had as many as seven, including small people.
This
So I
is,
mean, all
oh,
you could do, what do? You pray like
oh,
nobody else's business.
mm,
I made sure that every one of my officers, and I took my own advice. I got all of my officers involved in that crash scene in there. I even invited the families that were affected by those folks that passed away in that crash. That I even invited them to come to our state police post and talk to our clergy, talk to our counselors, because there was no way that something like that doesn't mark you and scar you, um, literally for life, in my opinion. And but to recognize that and to make sure that you try and be able to talk through it. And with some folks, sometimes it just has a good ear to listen
right,
to give you that spiritual guidance is to try and put it into perspective and some understanding, if that makes any sense.
for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
So I've had several. I'm trying to be a little general, guys, as far as uh, describing these incidents in too much detail, because I do know that we still have a lot of families out there that are still, even though it's several years removed, that I'm sure and I'm confident that are still processing this to the
Oh,
very
for
day.
sure, for
absolutely.
sure.
If that makes any sense. So out of
No,
respect
Oh,
for them,
absolutely.
and the
yeah.
gentleman,
No, no,
and
I appreciate you even sharing this, Major, because there was this family, and I don't know if it's the one of the same that you were talking about, was on I-65 between two semis. And I know that that must have been a very horrific scene, that whomever was there to stand by as a witness, I'm sure it's something that will always be engraved in their mind. It was a family of seven, along with mom, dads, and children. Not sure if you're talking of the same, and we keep them in prayer. Um, one of the answers actually goes to my church if it's in fact that one specific one. But there's been so many accidents that happen on I-65, Interstate 65, going south, um, especially in the
Unfortunately,
winter.
there's been several of those same like incidents, but I was the district commander for the one you're referring to as well too. So, and my philosophy is I don't let my troops process those types of situations alone. We will
On their own.
process those together. And
Wow.
again, my job is to make sure I get those other support mechanisms out there for them at the scene, waiting for them at the state police posts or wherever they might have to go, whether, from our clergies to our counselors with our EAP program and that kind of stuff like that, to make sure that whether or not they realize they need it, to
Mhm.
kind of put it there, and it makes it easier for them to sit down and have those conversations in private with those different folks that are available to them to kind of help them process it and talk through those
Right.
type of
Well, I certainly commend you for even bringing that out and encourage them to take on those services that you have available, to be open to that, because that can be detrimental and, as you mentioned, can lead to suicide.
Absolutely.
That's a
there's,
lot. That's a lot to take in, especially
it
when
is a
you
lot
can't
to
do
process.
anything about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to process in those situations. So and maybe because I just I'm always praying for those different families in those situations, because you leave home uh, and you expect your loved one to drive from point A to point B, and sometimes every once in a while um, don't make it to that destination,
Right.
and to have to be the deliverer of that news that your loved one didn't make it. Um, uh, I've lost count, unfortunately, how many times in my career, either, whether as a trooper or as a commander, that I've had the unfortunate circumstance to have to be a part of those communications to family members. So
Wow.
certainly, I still pray for them, and these families you're describing now, I still think about them as though it was yesterday, because
Mhm.
and I wonder and I pray that they are doing better and doing as best they can under the circumstances, because um, I don't know if there's any easy way to process that, and
Right.
for it not to live with you forever.
Right, right. And I get to see when the aunt puts up that it's their heavenly anniversary or it's their birthday. Especially there were babies in that vehicle, and so I know that that's a tough thing to process and to. How could you forget something like that, right? So I commend you and every police that's out there for what they go through and what they have to process, and for them to come home and see their children where that family didn't get to come home and see their loved ones. But most of all, the most important thing that you said is that seek help, and you're not shaming it, you're not condoning it, you're not saying no, don't, you tough it up. You know that deep in your heart and in your soul that you're gonna need some help, whether it's spiritual or psychological, mental, emotional, but get some help. So thank you for actually bringing that and offering it to your officers and to families as well, because it's so important. I mean, we have feelings, we have a heart, and we can't be that macho and you know what, I'm gonna tough it up, it's gonna be okay when
Right.
it's.
Right. Now, when your officers experience something like this, and I'm going to call it debriefing, when you bring them back and you debrief them on everything, do you only debrief them when they experience it, or is this something that they do, let's say, on a monthly basis, that they go and talk, even though they haven't experienced anything like this?
So our particular program is I'm very proud of at least what's established right now within our state police network itself. That same level of attention and those same individuals are available not only at the time of an incident, but days, weeks, months, and it could be 2, 3 years later. If you want to talk about a particular incident, those same individuals, those same avenues for support and help are available. It's free. All they got to do is reach out and say, "Hey, it's there." I just made it a very conscious effort when I was responsible for other folks as a commander, that I was very intentional with it. I would have our different clergies within our program intentionally go out and meet with those officers on their own terms, at their own homes and stuff like that, where they are away from that macho environment, that macho police environment, where it might be a little bit harder for them to let their guards down and to be able to engage and talk and vent through and kind of process those different horrific events that they might have encountered. We had another similar one back uh, I think it was 14 or 13, the Vortex. You guys may or may not remember, we had during that same time frame, we had that 65 car pileup on
Yeah.
984.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
unfortunately were infants, and of course there were deaths involved in that process, of course, also. And literally, we had to bring Michigan City was kind enough. They gave us school buses. That's how many people injuries we had. And of course, it was in the midst of a storm, and the temperatures were below zero,
Right.
so we had to have warming buses out just to keep people warm, because we had literally probably over 1,000 vehicles compacted in one little space on the interstate, and we had to get those people out of those vehicles, out of that storm, and into warming buses. And the Michigan State Police literally came over and brought about a dozen of their troopers from Michigan across the Michigan state line, well into 30, 40 miles into Indiana to
Wow.
even help us. That's how significant that event was. Michigan State Police and the then police chief were, I can't say enough good things about them as well, because they really, the mayor and the town at that time, and I really wish I could remember everybody's name, but they opened the Michigan City community opened up, and they provided whatever resources they had. It could have been some resources from their school services to buses to city department. It didn't matter if you said you needed it. They went and found it in their community and brought it out to us. So the Red Cross, you name it. So again, just a very horrific process, and we spent days, weeks, guys, with making sure that our clergy, our EAP, and counselors were available for all of those troopers I had out there, and the county officers, the Michigan City Police Department, the Michigan State Police itself. We made sure our whatever resources we had, we made sure that everybody had it. We made sure they had telephone numbers. We made sure if we identified the people that were close to the center of those processes that had to process some of the fatal victims that were in those folks were seeked out and made sure that they had close attention, to make sure that they could sit and talk and process this. But it was a several day process of debriefing, as you referred to, and making sure that for every debriefing we had EAP, we had clergy there to just talk and walk and offer a cup of coffee, and hey, you want to stand here and talk for a little while. And it helped. It really did. And it certainly helped me help process the process. So I do believe in it. I do believe it works. And I believe, again, I can't say it enough, we in law enforcement have to do a better job of identifying it, acknowledge it, and making sure that our officers don't think that it is a stigma that they cannot show that they have a heart, that they cannot be compassionate, and that it's okay to see something and not be okay with it.
And it's not a weakness.
Exactly.
Not a sign of weakness, exactly. So you have less than 1 minute left, Major. We want to thank you. We're going to bring you back. And when you see Superintendent Carter, you let him know, give him my regards as well. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do and you teach and you train. But in less than 1 minute, if you can send out a message into the new year 2023 to any face of a hero, to any hero out there, what would that be, Major?
I took 30 seconds to tell any other person that wears these uniforms any one thing, and that is to try and look inside yourself to find ways to do our part to re-engage in our communities, and find ways to take care of self-help, take care of yourself. Don't be afraid, as we just said. Don't think it's a weakness. To stop, take time for yourself. Don't be afraid to use those different resources that are available to you, to whether it be EAP, etc. I heard of the suicides over in the Chicagoland area here recently, and again, obviously, we just experienced one here last 30 to 40 days or so. So certainly I believe that suicides within our community is probably not going away in the law enforcement community, but I think we can make them less and less if we start to identify this as normal processing and not as a weakness.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much that you've made this much time for us. I am honored and humbled by it because I know that you are a very, very, very busy man. You said in 30 minutes all that you do, but that's not all that you do.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
for another time. Save some of that for next time.
I just have one thing to say, and I just want to commend your father for raising a wonderful, wonderful son. He has left such an impression on you, and I see that you have taken his role to be that role model for your fellow officers. And again, I salute you on it.
And your children. You have 4 officers as your children.
Absolutely. So. But not only them, that you said that when you were, as you were coming up, you had all these officers around you that you were being their mentor. And that's important. That's important, being a mentor. But, God bless you.
Thank you.
And may God continue to watch over you and continue to give you health for you to be able to do what you're doing.
That's right.
I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the platform that you have here for all the heroes, because I don't quite consider myself to be a hero at all, but I truly, truly appreciate this platform that you guys have here.
Spread the word. Spread the word, Major. We want more heroes, for people to hear their story, that you're just not some standby that just watching things happen and you're not there to help, but you are here to serve and protect. And thank you once again for your service, and for what you do outside of this platform as far as being a police officer, the assistant chief of staff of the superintendent for Indiana State Police. So kudos to you and to everyone that's out there. Be safe, and a happy new year to you guys, and looking forward to a greater year, and may there be more peace, right, on earth.
I hope so.
Thank you once again, Major Jerry Williams.
Yes.
Good night. Thank you. Bye now.
Be safe now.
All right.
And so wow.
What a story.
Wow.
What a story.
We've taken over an hour, and our show is an hour long, but let me just say it was well worth the extra minutes.
And you told him we're only going to take 30 minutes of his time.
Well, because you see, he said he had 6 hours.
I know.
6 calls to make, and I'm sure he received more while we were on the air here, talking to him, and that's because we want to hear what it's like, And for 30 years of service, that's amazing. That's awesome to still be in the force and to be the highest ranking person of that magnitude in that position, first African American in the highest ranking for the state of Indiana, the state police. And so that's commendable. That's awesome. So I can't wait to bring in Superintendent Carter. He's the superintendent for the state police. So we got a lot more people out there. And if you know of a hero, please share it with us. You see it on the bottom. It says thefaceofahero.com. Call us at 773, and I put 733. I'm sorry, 773-809-0106. So let me correct that. And wow, real quick, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts. Again, what a person. I really commend him, and especially like I said, his father did a wonderful job with him. And that's the thing for me is that when individuals have their parents there to guide them, and then he lost his father, at a younger age, but again, they instill those values and everything that he's experienced, but he still has a clear mind.
Yeah.
He still has a clear mind about it.
Well, with that, we're going to say good night. Until next time, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And of course, you can go to our website, thefaceofahero.com, 773-809-0106 to call us. Tell us, hey, I have a hero. You need to hear their story. So
Absolutely.
Reach out to us. Absolutely. This platform is for the hero, about the hero. And with that, Agustin, thank you for being
next time.
Here. Hasta luego.
Okay.
Till next time.
Good night.
And you all have a wonderful, wonderful night. Peace to you.